Listen closely, because what is rising around you right now is not ordinary, not accidental, and definitely not something the people around you ever expected. There is a shift unfolding in the unseen, a rearranging of spiritual weight, a stirring that has your name woven into its very fabric. You were not meant to hear this message later. You were meant to hear it now, in this exact moment, because heaven has leaned in your direction. Something in your life has been overlooked, underestimated, dismissed, or misjudged. People saw fragments of your journey and thought it was the whole story. They watched you walk through storms and assumed the storm defined you. They noticed your quiet season and believed it meant you were finished. They misread the silence, misread your stillness, misread your restraint. They thought you were fading when you were only being forged. They thought you were shrinking when you were being sharpened. They thought you were losing when God was positioning you. You have been moving through a sacred contradiction, a season where your outer life looked still, but your inner life was under divine construction. And because of that, some people wrote conclusions about you that heaven never authored. They made assumptions about your potential based on snapshots of your struggle. They took your temporary chapter and tried to label it as your permanent ending. And yet, through all of that noise and pressure, something inside you refused to break. This message comes to you as the first ripple of a greater wave. They underestimated you, and God is about to elevate you in a way that none of them saw coming. The shift will not be subtle. It will not be quiet. It will not be hidden. This next move in your life will be unmistakably divine, unmistakably purposeful, unmistakably marked by God's hand. You have stepped into a moment where heaven is rewriting your narrative in real time. What was closed is loosening. What was delayed is accelerating. What was stolen is being reclaimed. And the same people who couldn't see you then are about to witness what God is doing now. But before the elevation arrives, you must understand the spiritual weight behind it, the divine reasoning that surrounds it, and the prophetic truth that has been following your life long before now. Because what is coming is bigger than they expected, stronger than you imagined, and closer than you think. And as this shift begins to move toward you, understand this. What you're sensing is not just momentum, not just intuition, not just a sudden awakening of confidence. It is the breath of God drawing nearer the voice of the divine, pressing into the atmosphere of your life, the unmistakable rhythm of heaven aligning your steps. Nothing about this moment is random. Nothing about this stirring is self-created. You are being spoken to, guided, and lifted by a power far beyond your own strength. There comes a time in every divine journey when God steps forward and makes his involvement undeniable. You are standing in that time now. The elevation forming around you is not because someone finally recognized your worth. It's because God always did. This is his doing, his timing, his orchestration. What is unfolding in your life is a continuation of a conversation God began over you long before the world ever had an opinion. The one who formed you, called you, shaped you, refined you, and preserved you is stepping into the forefront of your story. You may have walked through seasons where it seemed like heaven was silent. But silence does not mean absence. It means preparation. It means foundation. It means God was clearing paths and aligning circumstances so that when the moment arrived, nothing could interfere with what he planned to release. And now that the moment is here, his message to you is clear. This elevation is divinely authored, divinely protected, and divinely timed. You are not rising because of luck. You are rising because of alignment. You are rising because of obedience. You are rising because heaven has opened a chapter that no human hand can close. The underestimated one is being lifted by the very God who saw every tear, every setback, every betrayal, every sacrifice, and every quiet act of faith you carried when no one else was watching. God is not elevating you to prove people wrong. He's elevating you to prove Himself faithful. Those who underestimated you were simply witnessing a version of you still under construction. But God saw the blueprint. God saw the ending. God saw the purpose stitched into your existence. And now He is revealing what He always knew about you. There is a holy intentionality to this moment. The timing, the alignment, the unfolding, none of it is accidental. Your name has been spoken in heavenly places. Your destiny has been set into motion. The same God who called you is the one lifting you, and He is making sure that when the elevation arrives, it is undeniable who placed you there. So as you continue listening, let your spirit settle into this truth. You are being guided, affirmed, and elevated by divine authority. This message is not inspiration. This is confirmation. This is instruction. This is revelation. What comes next will explain why the underestimation was necessary, why the slow season was sacred, and why God waited until now to bring your elevation into the light. What has been stirring around your life is more than a shift. It is a prophetic unveiling. Something that has been hidden, delayed, or quietly maturing beneath the surface is now beginning to rise into visibility. For a long time, heaven has been working behind the scenes on your behalf, arranging circumstances, removing hindrances, exposing false connections, and strengthening your inner foundation. But now the covering is being lifted. The season of obscurity is giving way to the season of manifestation. What was once only sensed is about to be seen. Here is the unveiling. God is elevating you, because your time of being underestimated has expired. The spiritual permission for others to overlook you has been revoked. The grace that allowed them to misunderstand you has been withdrawn. The season where your value remained hidden was necessary for your protection, but that necessity has ended. You are entering a divine unveiling, a moment when God reveals the strength, wisdom, depth, and gifting He has cultivated within you. Elevation is not just coming, it has already begun. It is moving silently through your atmosphere, like a rising tide gaining force, gaining momentum, gaining visibility. And soon it will reach a point where even those who dismissed you will feel the shift. This elevation is not random. It is targeted. It carries your name, your purpose, your calling, your assignment. It is heaven's response to years of preparation. You are being positioned for rooms you once felt unqualified, for opportunities you once believed were out of reach, connections you once thought were too far removed from your world. But the prophecy unfolding now is this: God is not placing you in these spaces because you fought for them. He is placing you there because you were built for them. The very traits people misunderstood are the traits God is now amplifying. The very qualities they mocked are becoming your distinguishing strengths. The areas where you were underestimated are becoming the arenas where you will excel. You are stepping into a phase where what is inside you will finally match the environment around you. The world is not ready for the fullness of who you are becoming. Yet God is unveiling you anyway. The prophecy continues: those who underestimated you unknowingly positioned themselves as witnesses to your rise. Your elevation is not meant to humiliate them, but to illuminate you. They needed to see you at your lowest so they could recognize the hand of God when you rise to your highest. Your story will carry a kind of glory that cannot be attributed to talent alone. It will be seen as divine intervention. There is another layer to this unveiling. The shift you are entering will not simply change your circumstances, it will change your identity in the eyes of others. The labels they placed on you will fall off. The assumptions they made about you will dissolve. The narratives they created about your future will be overturned. Heaven is rewriting your story, and the ink of this new chapter is bold, unmistakable, and irreversible. In this new phase, you will feel a sense of acceleration. Doors that refused to budge will begin to open. Conversations that never included your name will suddenly speak of you with honor. Paths that were blocked will begin to clear. The spiritual resistance that once felt heavy will weaken under the authority of what God is releasing. But this unveiling is not just external. Something internal is awakening as well. You are beginning to feel a holy confidence rising within you. Not arrogance, not ambition, but alignment. A deep knowing that this time you are not stepping into your future alone or unprepared. God is elevating you without requiring you to fight for recognition. He is lifting you in a way that makes it obvious this is His doing. The prophecy being unveiled is simple yet profound. Your underestimated season was the birthplace of your elevation. What they couldn't see in you became the very thing God strengthened in you. What they overlooked became what God magnified. What they counted out became what heaven counted on. And now you stand on the threshold of a moment that will define your next chapter. A moment where everything God promised begins to unfold with clarity, purpose, and power. There is a deeper spiritual architecture behind what is unfolding in your life. A divine logic woven into the very fabric of your journey. Elevation is never random. Underestimation is never accidental. Every moment of your path, from the valleys that bruised you to the quiet seasons that refined you, has been part of a spiritual pattern designed to prepare you for what heaven is now releasing. To understand this moment, you must first understand what underestimation truly means in the spiritual realm. When people underestimate you, it is often because God has concealed aspects of your calling for a season. Not to punish you, not to diminish you, but to protect what He is developing within you. Think of it as a seed placed deep in the soil. A seed is hidden not because it is insignificant, but because its growth requires darkness, pressure, and isolation. The seed is underestimated because no one can see its potential while it is underground. But that hiddenness is precisely what allows it to grow without interference. Your life has mirrored that sacred pattern. God placed you in seasons where your strength, gifts, and potential were covered, where your spiritual identity was concealed, where the fullness of your calling was kept out of sight. Not because you weren't ready, but because the world wasn't. Underestimation became your camouflage, your protection, your shield. While others overlooked you, heaven was investing in you. While people dismissed you, God was depositing wisdom, resilience, discernment, and depth that could not be acquired any other way. This is the paradox of divine preparation. The lower you are perceived, the higher God intends to lift you. The more you are hidden, the more heaven is shaping you. The stiller life becomes around you, the louder God is working within you. You were not in a season of silence. You were in a season of sacred construction. Every storm you endured, every delay you survived, every test you overcame was part of a greater blueprint. There is also deep spiritual meaning in God elevating you after being underestimated. When others cannot see your value, you learn to anchor your identity in God rather than in human validation. When they dismiss your potential, you learn to trust the calling that speaks from within rather than the opinions that speak from around you. When they misinterpret your quiet seasons, you learn that destiny is not built in applause, but in surrender. Through underestimation, God stripped away every false source of identity. He removed the need for approval. He broke the desire for validation. He quieted the voices that once shaped your self-worth. And in their place, He strengthened your inner knowing, your spiritual backbone, your divine confidence. You became anchored, rooted, unshakable, not because life was easy, but because the pressure forged something unbreakable inside you. Your elevation is the fruit of that internal transformation. God is lifting you not simply to bless you, but to reveal what He has formed within you. You are being positioned because your character has been tested. You are being elevated because your foundation has been strengthened. You are stepping into visibility because your heart has been purified. Heaven elevates only those who can carry the weight of what comes next. There is also a spiritual shift in the atmosphere around you. You are moving from one season of identity into another. The old you, the one shaped by survival, restraint, and endurance, is giving way to the version of you that walks with authority, clarity, and anointing. You are transitioning from hiddenness to influence, from silence to impact, from being overlooked to being entrusted. This transition mirrors the movement of spiritual seasons. There are seasons of winter where everything seems dormant, where nothing appears to grow, where your prayers feel like whispers swallowed by darkness. These are the seasons of deep work, seasons where roots grow unseen, seasons where God strengthens you for what others will eventually witness. Then comes spring, the season of emergence, the season where what has been underground breaks through, the season where the seed becomes visible, not fully grown, not fully formed, but undeniably alive. You are entering this season now. The spiritual soil is shifting. The ground that once resisted you is beginning to yield. What was beneath the surface is rising into sight. Elevation is your spiritual spring, and the underestimation was your winter. Your journey is not random, it is rhythmic. It moves like tides, like dawn breaking after a long night, like a door cracking open after years of waiting. God is honoring the spiritual laws He placed within creation, that nothing buried stays buried, nothing hidden stays hidden, and nothing planted in faith remains fruitless. The depth of this moment is this: you are not being elevated because you were overlooked. You are being elevated because you remained faithful despite being overlooked. Heaven is rewarding what people ignored. God is unveiling what others misread. Your story is shifting because your spirit has matured and destiny responds to maturity. The elevation you are stepping into is not merely a change of circumstances. It is the outward reflection of an inward transformation. Your life is aligning with what God placed inside you long before anyone underestimated you. As this spiritual realignment unfolds around you, there are signs, subtle, symbolic, and undeniable, that begin to appear in the life of someone whom God is preparing to elevate. These signs are not coincidences. They are confirmations. They are whispers from heaven that the shift you've been sensing is not imagined. It is real, active, and already taking shape. One of the first signs is an inner restlessness, a stirring that refuses to be quiet. You may not know why, but something in you has been awakening, stretching, rising. You feel outgrowing patterns that once felt comfortable. You feel misaligned with environments you once tolerated. This restlessness is not frustration. It is spiritual expansion. God is enlarging your capacity because elevation demands room. When you start feeling too big for where you are, it is because where you are can no longer contain who you are becoming. Another sign is separation from certain people or circles, not through conflict, not always through disagreement, but through distance that seems to happen without explanation. Conversations change. Connections fade. People who once had access to your heart no longer feel aligned with your spirit. This is divine pruning. Not everyone can. Even with all these signs pointing toward elevation, there is a side of the journey that is often misunderstood. Before God lifts you, He allows you to pass through challenges that seem contradictory to the promise. These are not signs of defeat, but signs of refinement. They are not evidence that God has abandoned you, but evidence that He is preparing you to carry something heavier, holier, and more influential than what you have known before. One of the first hidden challenges is the experience of being misunderstood at the very moment you are becoming clearer within yourself. You may feel that people interpret your silence as weakness, your distance as coldness, or your growth as rebellion. What they fail to realize is that your spirit is shifting into a different frequency, one they are no longer attuned to. This misunderstanding is difficult, but it is necessary. It frees you from unnecessary explanations and forces you to walk with God, not with approval. Another challenge is the sensation of spiritual warfare, increasing especially in the areas where elevation is coming. You may notice an intensification of doubt, fear, or old wounds resurfacing unexpectedly. These attacks are not random. They are attempts to distract you at the threshold of breakthrough. Elevation threatens darkness, and darkness responds with resistance. Do not interpret this as a sign to retreat. Interpret it as confirmation that you are standing at the very edge of what God promised. A third challenge is the experience of divine delay, a period where everything feels ready except the timing. You may feel prepared, aligned, and strengthened, yet the door hasn't opened. This delay is not denial. It is synchronization. God is aligning external circumstances with your internal preparation. If the door opened too early, the blessing would not be sustainable. If it opened too late, the preparation would be wasted. This delay is precision, not punishment. A fourth hidden challenge appears as unexpected loss or pruning. You may lose relationships, jobs, routines, or environments you once relied on. These losses are painful because they feel like parts of your identity being stripped away. But what is truly happening is spiritual decluttering. God is removing what cannot support your elevation. The loss is not an ending, it is an unburdening. A fifth challenge is the feeling of loneliness, even when you are surrounded by people. This loneliness is not emptiness, it is incubation. God is separating your voice from the noise around you so He can speak more clearly. The quietness you're experiencing is not isolation. It is consecration. You are being set apart for something specific, something sacred, something that requires a deep internal stillness. And finally, there is the challenge of self-doubt, the question that whispers, "Am I really ready?" This feeling emerges because elevation exposes parts of yourself you once hid. But here, this readiness is not perfection. Readiness is willingness. God is not elevating you because you have everything figured out. He is elevating you because your heart is aligned, your spirit is mature, and your obedience has been proven in private. These hidden challenges are not obstacles to stop you. They are stepping stones forming the bridge between where you were and where God is taking you. They are the final refinements before the unveiling. They are the shaping forces that make sure your elevation is sustainable, impactful, and spiritually grounded. Now that the signs are unfolding and the hidden challenges have revealed their purpose, you must understand this elevation is not a passive experience. It is a co-laboring with God. Heaven opens the door, but you must walk through it. God releases the wind, but you must raise your sail. What comes next requires your participation, your intention, your alignment. The first divine instruction is to quiet the voices that no longer align with your destiny. You cannot rise while still feeding yourself with words that diminish you. You cannot carry elevation while carrying opinions that contradict what God has spoken over your life. This is the season where you must become intentional about protecting your mind. Not everyone deserves access to your thoughts. Not everything deserves entrance into your spirit. God is elevating you, but you must guard your atmosphere. The second instruction is to stay anchored in humility while stepping into confidence. These two qualities do not oppose one another. They complete one another. Humility keeps your heart pure, while confidence keeps your steps bold. Humility reminds you that the elevation comes from God, not man. Confidence reminds you that you were chosen for this elevation and should not shrink from it. The enemy often tries to distort one or the other, either by inflating pride or by suffocating self-worth. You must hold both with grace, walk low before God, and walk tall before destiny. The third instruction is to release the past without resentment. Elevation requires space, and space is created by letting go. Let go of the bitterness that tries to cling to you. Let go of the memories that replay as wounds. Let go of the people who chose not to see you. They did not recognize your value because they were not assigned to your future. Carrying resentment into your new season is like dragging chains into a place meant for freedom. Release the past so your hands are open to receive what God is placing before you. The fourth instruction: move when God nudges, not when fear delays. Elevation often requires steps that feel unfamiliar. You may be called to speak where you once stayed silent. You may be called to step into opportunities you once believed were too big. You may be called to lead in places where you once followed. God will give you small instructions that feel like whispers. Email that person. Revisit that idea, apply for that opportunity, begin that project. Write that plan. These nudges are not random. They are divine cues. When you sense them, respond. Delayed obedience can close doors that were meant to open. The fifth instruction is to sharpen your spiritual sensitivity. In seasons of elevation, God speaks more precisely, not always louder, but clearer. You must create space to hear Him, whether through prayer, reflection, stillness, or worship. When you elevate physically, but neglect your spiritual senses, the blessing becomes harder to carry. Your intuition is a divine instrument. Keep it tuned. Discernment will be your compass in this new season. The sixth instruction: prepare for new responsibilities. Elevation is not only about being lifted, it is about being entrusted. God is giving you influence, visibility, and authority, not for decoration, but for impact. This requires preparation. Equip yourself, strengthen your skills, grow in wisdom, declutter your life, build systems that support your purpose. God is elevating you, but you must steward the increase. When preparation meets elevation, destiny becomes sustainable. And finally, the seventh instruction is this: do not dim your light out of consideration for those who underestimated you. This elevation is not a weapon against them. It is a testimony of God's faithfulness. You were not called to shrink so others feel comfortable. You were not chosen to remain invisible so others feel superior. When God elevates you, shine with reverence, shine with purity, shine with gratitude. Shine because you were created to illuminate spaces that once felt too dark for your presence. These instructions are not burdens. They are invitations. Invitations to rise with clarity. Invitations to step into alignment. Invitations to walk in partnership with heaven. Your elevation is unfolding, but your participation shapes its fullness. As you rise into this new season, you must understand something deeply comforting, something that settles the spirit and strengthens the heart. You are not rising alone. Elevation may feel like a personal journey, but you are surrounded, shielded, and supported by a divine presence that has been walking beside you long before you realized it. God does not lift you into visibility without also surrounding you with protection. There is a spiritual covering around your life that has grown stronger with every battle you've survived. You may not have seen it, but you felt it the moments where you should have broken, but didn't the moments where the attack was fierce. But somehow you endured the moments where you lost much, but never lost yourself. These were not accidents. They were signs that heaven held you when the world could not. In this season of elevation, that protection intensifies. God assigns new layers of covering when you step into new levels of purpose. What once threatened you will no longer have the same access. What once intimidated you will lose its power. The spiritual atmosphere around you is being fortified. Angels are being positioned. Boundaries are being reinforced. Doors that once allowed attack are being sealed shut. You may notice that certain environments no longer feel comfortable, not because you are unsafe, but because your spirit is becoming more sensitive to anything that does not align with where you are going. This sensitivity is a form of protection. It is God tugging at your spirit, guiding you away from what drains you and toward what strengthens you. Listen to that tug. It will not mislead you. Another form of divine assurance is the peace that follows you unexpectedly. Even in moments where you don't have all the answers, even when the path ahead feels unfamiliar, there is a calm resting in your chest that cannot be explained by circumstances. This peace is not your own. It is a gift placed inside you by the one who goes before you. Peace is the signature of God's presence. Whenever peace appears in places that don't make sense, it is confirmation that heaven is near. You are also protected from the intentions of those who underestimated you. Their opinions cannot block what God is releasing. Their assumptions cannot interfere with your destiny. Their doubts cannot diminish the calling that rests on you. God is not elevating you into a battlefield without equipping you with victory. Every trap set against you is losing power before it ever touches you. Every plan formed against you is dissolving before it reaches your feet. And perhaps the greatest assurance of all is this: God has already gone ahead of you. The path you are about to walk has already been cleared. The doors you are about to step through have already been secured. The opportunities that await you have already been blessed. You are stepping into a future that has been prepared, fortified, and sealed by divine authority. So as you move forward, hold this truth close to your heart. You are protected. You are covered. You are surrounded. You are held. Nothing that comes against you will prosper, and nothing that God has ordained for you can be taken away. What comes next in your journey is more than change. It is transformation. Not the kind that shifts a few pieces of your life, but the kind that rearranges the entire landscape of who you are. You are stepping into a season where the internal work God has done within you will begin to manifest outwardly. What once lived only in your spirit will now become visible in your reality. Transformation happens quietly at first. You begin to notice that the things that once triggered you no longer shake you. The wounds that once felt open begin to close with unexpected grace. The fears that once held you back begin to lose their grip. You start responding to life differently. You begin seeing yourself differently. It is as though your soul is catching up to your calling. That is not coincidence, it is fulfillment unfolding. This next phase is where God reveals the purpose behind every delay, every disappointment, every closed door, every lonely night, every battle you fought in silence. You begin to understand why you had to walk through seasons that others never experienced. You begin to realize that nothing was wasted. Every moment, even the painful ones, were tools in the hands of a divine craftsman who was shaping you into someone capable of carrying what he is now releasing. Your elevation will not simply lift you, it will transform you. You will walk with a new authority, not prideful, but grounded, not loud, but unmistakable. People who once ignored your voice will begin to seek your wisdom. Environments that once rejected you will begin to open pathways for you. Opportunities that once felt distant will suddenly feel native to your spirit. This transformation is also emotional. You will feel lighter, clearer, more aligned. The heaviness you carried for years will begin to melt away. The confusion that clouded your purpose will begin to lift. Fulfillment brings clarity, and clarity brings peace. You will know what to pursue, what to release, and what to protect. Your priorities will sharpen your focus, will intensify, and your self-worth will rise to match the calling God placed within you. There is a transformation in how you carry yourself, not to impress, but to express who you truly are. The version of you shaped by fear, scarcity, and survival is giving way to a version shaped by purpose, abundance, and authority. You will speak differently. Think differently, love differently, move differently. The change will be so profound that even those who underestimated you will struggle to recognize you. And then fulfillment enters the moment where what God whispered becomes what God manifests. This is the phase where prayers become reality, where seeds become harvest, where hidden preparation becomes visible fruit. Fulfillment is not simply the arrival of blessing. It is the alignment of your life with your divine blueprint. You will find yourself stepping into assignments that finally make sense. You will feel the weight of destiny settling on your shoulders, not as a burden, but as a crown. You will begin to experience breakthroughs that once felt impossible. You will see God open doors that no human could orchestrate. You will witness restoration in areas you thought were permanently broken. This fulfillment is not a moment. It is a season. A sustained period where heaven breathes on your life with intention. A season where acceleration becomes normal. A season where answered prayers arrive without warning. A season where you begin to live not in survival, but in purpose. Your transformation is the unveiling. Your fulfillment is the arrival. And both are already in motion. You are stepping into the phase of your life where what God spoke becomes what God showcases. As this message draws to its close, let these final words settle into the deepest part of your spirit. Everything you have walked through, everything you have survived, everything you have endured in silence has led you here to a moment of divine clarity and awakening. You are not the same person you were when this journey began. You have evolved. You have risen. You have stepped into a truth about yourself that heaven has always known. Elevation is no longer a distant hope. It is an unfolding reality. And now, as you prepare to walk forward, you must speak life into the future God is guiding you toward. These affirmations are not merely words. They are declarations, spiritual anchors, prophetic alignments. Speak them aloud. Let them take root. Let them shape the path ahead. Affirmation 1. I rise because God has called me higher and no one can stop what He has ordained. Affirmation 2. I walk with clarity, confidence, and divine protection in every season of my life. Affirmation 3. I release what was, embrace what is, and step boldly into what God is revealing. Affirmation 4. I am worthy of elevation, equipped for purpose, and aligned with destiny. Let these words live in your heart. Let them echo in your spirit whenever doubt tries to enter. Let them remind you that the God who began the good work in you is faithful to complete it. And now receive this blessing. May the road before you open with divine precision. May every step you take be guided by wisdom and protected by grace. May the places where you were overlooked become the stages where God displays His glory. May your spirit remain steady, your heart remain pure, and your vision remain clear. May doors open that no hand can close, and may every blessing with your name on it find you without delay. May peace follow you, light surround you, and favor rest upon you. May you walk in confidence, knowing that heaven has gone ahead of you, behind you, and beside you. May you rise into the fullness of who you were created to be, with boldness, with humility, with gratitude, and with unwavering faith. You are stepping into a season where underestimation becomes elevation, where hiddenness becomes unveiling, where preparation becomes fulfillment, where your story becomes a testament of God's faithfulness. Carry this blessing with you as you move forward. Let it steady your spirit. Let it guide your steps. Let it remind you that you are held chosen, lifted, and protected. Your elevation has begun, and nothing can stop what God has set into motion.